One Piece just dropped the truth about Luffy's final crewmate, and most fans completely missed it. But the second you line everything up, it hits like a ton of sea prism stone. It's not just a random theory. Oda's been setting this up quietly for years. From hidden parallels to straight-up copy-paste moments from past arcs, everything points to one character, and somehow fans still think it's a mystery. But if you've been paying attention since Elbaf, then yeah, Luffy already made his choice. And the craziest part? He might have picked the one person the world least expected. It's easy to forget, but Luffy made a promise to himself way back in East Blue to gather at least 10 crewmates before he could even think about becoming king of the pirates. And not just any crewmates. People he handpicked, people he connected with, people who had dreams just as big as his own. Now fast forward to Elbaf, and here we are, deep into the final saga with Luffy already sailing beside 9 ride-or-die companions. 9 people who have carried his will across seas, through wars, and straight into the heart of world-shaking conspiracies. So it's no stretch to say there's still one slot left, and the craziest part is that Luffy might have already chosen them without ever saying a word about it. But the clues? Oh, they've been right in front of us this whole time, and once you see them, you can't unsee them. To back up what we're gonna claim, here is the pattern behind every Straw Hat. Every Straw Hat joins for a reason, and I'm not just talking about fighting strength or quirky personalities. There's always a deep, emotional core to it. Zoro wanted to be the world's strongest swordsman. Nami wanted to be the best navigator. Robin just wanted to live and study history, especially the Void Century. Every single crew member carries pain, a past, and a purpose. So when we start thinking about who the final Straw Hat could be, we can't just look at who's popular or who's powerful. We have to ask who fits that pattern, who's been slowly woven into the story with just enough mystery, just enough heartbreak, just enough proximity to Luffy's values, but never quite stepping over that final threshold. And if you're thinking about Elbaf right now, you're on the right track because someone there just ticks every single box. During the Elbaf arc, one character's presence felt different, not just because of their screen time or their connections, but because of how the narrative seemed to bend around them. There's been a growing theory online, and some fans believe that this person isn't just an ally or a side character. They're the final puzzle piece, the last dreamer who hasn't found their ship yet, the one Luffy's already accepted without making a big speech about it because that's just how he operates. He didn't ask Brook for a resume. He didn't vet Jinbei. He just knew. And in Elbaf, it's been said that Luffy had that same quiet moment, that same silent nod of approval with someone new. But here's the part that really flips everything on its head. What makes this theory hit harder is that Oda may have foreshadowed this decision years before the Elbaf arc even started. It's not just a gut feeling from Luffy. There are visual parallels, recycled phrasing, and callbacks to old conversations that now feel like eerie blueprints for this exact moment. Like Oda wasn't just dropping hints, he was literally laying out a slow-burning answer in real time, trusting fans to put the pieces together only when it mattered most. Whether it's a familiar pose, a repeated phrase, or a symbolic echo from past arcs, it's all been building to this moment in Elbaf. The identity of the final Straw Hat isn't just a mystery. It's a reveal that's been waiting for us to finally notice. And once you do, it changes the whole dynamic of the crew. When you think of a prince in One Piece, you usually expect honor, charisma, maybe a little flair, but Loki's entrance into the story completely flipped that expectation. From the moment he finally appeared in the Elbaf arc, it was clear something was off, and not in a casual way. The man who was supposed to be the heir to the greatest warrior nation in the world wasn't celebrated. He was hated. Not just disliked or feared, but straight up reviled by the very people he was supposed to lead. They didn't call him the Prince of Giants. They called him the Accursed Prince, a disgrace to Elbaf's legacy, a living reminder of something shameful. And that's what makes his presence so strange, because in One Piece, characters with that kind of introduction don't get tossed aside. They evolve, they matter. But here's what makes it really wild. The person who saw past all of that, the one who didn't care about Loki's title or his reputation, was Luffy. Luffy's always had this almost supernatural sense for who's worth trusting. He doesn't care about bloodlines, ranks, or rumors. He cared about Robin even when everyone said she was dangerous. He defended Law when nobody else would. And when it came to Loki, a man literally treated as a disgrace by his own people, Luffy didn't hesitate. He saved him. He risked himself for someone he barely knew, and that alone says more than words ever could. What's even crazier is that Luffy's vibe check isn't just about kindness. He's drawn to people who are broken but still trying. People who hide something soft underneath all the armor. People like Loki, and even Mosa, who knows Loki better than most, confirmed it. Loki might look rough, but he's kind on the inside. And if that sounds familiar, well, so did Zoro, so did Robin, so did Jinbei. So it shouldn't surprise you that the bond is forming between Luffy and Loki. It's already looking looking a lot like the beginning of something much bigger. There's a detail here that's way too specific to ignore, and once you spot it, it hits hard. Because just like with Zoro in the very first arc, it was Luffy who freed Loki. Not just metaphorically, not emotionally, literally. He rescued him from a situation he couldn't escape on his own. Back in Shellstown, Zoro was tied up, left for dead, and the world had written him off as some monster. But Luffy saw through it and made a decision right there on the spot. Now, jump back to Elbaf, and the exact same thing happens with Loki. A warrior everyone fears, surrounded by hate, chained by a reputation he didn't choose. And once again, it's Luffy who breaks those chains. That kind of parallel isn't a coincidence. It's classic Oda. Because the strongest bonds in One Piece aren't built in peaceful moments. They're forged in chaos, in desperation, in the split-second decisions that change everything. And that's exactly what we just saw with Loki. Every Straw Hat has a unique dream, but they all share one thing. They had nowhere left to go until Luffy gave them a reason to keep moving. Nami wanted freedom from Arlong. Sanji wanted to find the All Blue. Robin wanted to survive. And now Loki, the prince who doesn't even belong in his own kingdom, the warrior who was born to rule but never truly accepted, he fits that pattern like a glove. He's powerful, yes, but he's also lost. He's disconnected from the place that's supposed to be his home. And even though Elbaf might one day accept him, the reality is that Loki was never meant to just stay in Elbaf. He's meant to find his place out there on the sea, under a captain who doesn't care about your past, only your potential. And if that captain already saved your life and sees something in you that no one else does, well, that sounds like a Straw Hat to me. Now here's where the theory starts to sound a little too perfect, because if Loki does join, not only would he round out the Straw Hat crew in terms of numbers, but he'd bring something they don't have yet, a connection to the land of the strongest warriors in the world, a giant, a literal prince, a former outcast who now chooses freedom over fate, and more importantly, someone whose bond with Luffy wasn't forced, but earned through trust, risk, and instinct. There's been a lot of buzz online about Loki possibly joining, and while nothing is confirmed, the narrative groundwork is definitely there. It wouldn't just make sense, it would complete something that started all the way back when Luffy said he wanted at least 10 crewmates, and if you're keeping count, he's only at 9. But that's just the beginning. From the moment we saw the Elbaf mural, something about it just felt heavy, like it wasn't just history, it was prophecy. The kind of ancient artwork that doesn't just tell you what was, but whispers about what's coming. And hidden in that chaos of giants, gods, flames, and shadows, fans spotted something wild. A figure that looked unmistakably like Luffy in his Nika form, but right next to him, another warrior. Bigger, covered in armor, someone fighting with Nika, not against him. That's where people started connecting dots. Because if that mural really is a vision of the Great War, then that second figure, it's Loki, not just the disgraced prince of Elbaf, not just a side character, a warrior standing shoulder to shoulder with the sun god himself. And once you start seeing it that way, everything starts lining up. See, in most arcs, Luffy picks his own enemies. He rushes into fights based on instinct, emotion, or principle. But this time, it's different. Imu isn't just another villain. Imu is the final enemy, the one pulling strings across centuries, the one who threatens everything, not just the Straw Hats, not just the Marines, but the entire world. That's the kind of enemy that forces even the unlikeliest alliances to happen. And in Elbaf, where Imu's presence is already looming like a storm on the edge of the horizon, there's no room left for old grudges or personal pride. Luffy and Loki may have started off on weird footing, but this isn't the kind of fight you walk away from. This is the kind of war where everyone who can fight has to fight. And the mural didn't just foreshadow it, it flat out showed it. What makes this theory even crazier is how it completes Loki's arc. Because let's be real, this guy started off as a total mess, hated by his people, seen as a failure, bearing a legacy he never asked for. But that's exactly what makes him perfect for a comeback. The idea that the accursed prince, the one rejected by Elbaf, could end up saving it alongside Luffy, that's storytelling gold. It's poetic, it's earned, and it turns Loki from a side character into a living legend. There's been a lot of buzz online about how the mural isn't just a war scene, it's a redemption story. And for Loki, that redemption doesn't come from ruling Elbaf, it comes from defending it, from standing at the front lines with the one person who believed in him when no one else did. And yeah, that person just happens to be Luffy himself. Most fans thought the mural was about the past, a story of how Elbaf once rose up against the darkness, but look closer, and the details don't add up. The presence of Nika, the figure that looks way too much like Luffy, the alliances that haven't happened yet. All of it feels like a projection, not of what was, but what will be. A warning, a promise, a glimpse into the kind of unity that will be needed to take down the one figure who has ruled the shadows for 800 years. Because if Imu is the true final enemy, and let's be honest, all signs point that way, then this isn't just about pirates anymore, it's about gods, kings, giants, and two warriors side by side, leading the charge not because of duty, but because of who they are. And what happens next might just decide the fate of the world. Let's be real. The Straw Hats are strong, but they're not a classic Yonko crew just yet. They've got raw power, sure, but no giants, no country backing them, no political shield like Big Mom or Blackbeard. They've always been more like a pirate family than an empire. But with Loki, that changes. He brings more than brute strength. He brings legacy. He brings connections to Elbaf, even if the country hates him now. And most of all, he fills the 10th slot Luffy always said he wanted, 10 crewmates. That's been Luffy's dream since day one. We're at 9. The numbers don't lie. And when you think about the great war that's coming, against Imu, against the world government, against fate itself, don't you think Luffy's going to want a giant on his side? Some fans believe Loki will return to Elbaf and redeem himself, that maybe he'll earn back the people's respect and rule as a king. But honestly, that doesn't feel like the kind of ending Oda's setting up. Loki doesn't need to sit on a throne. He needs freedom, he needs purpose, and he needs people who don't see him as broken royalty, but as a brother in arms. That's what the Straw Hats offer. A ship, a dream, a seat at the table where nobody judges your past. And that moment when Luffy freed him, it wasn't just a rescue, it was an invitation. The same kind of quiet, unspoken invitation he gave to Zoro in Shellstown, to Robin in Eni's lobby, to Jinbei in the middle of a war. It's how Luffy says, "I want you with me," without saying a single word. And when Luffy picks someone like that, it's already done.